Once you install Terms Popup on user login, you can go to Terms Popup user login options, where you will land on the General tab. On the General tab, you have a drop down which can change the operation mode of the popup. You can simply do not show popup. If you wish to hide it temporarily, you can show popup on user login, which will show the popup upon a user logging into your website. You can do a WooCommerce mode, which gives you extra options on which WooCommerce page you want to show the pop-up. And you have test mode that always shows the pop-up for any user all the time. This is only recommended if you're still currently in development. You can also add your license key over here if you have one. Some features will only be available if you have the license key. You will see them in the green box. On the second tab, there are labels and content and redirects. So the labels are pop-up title, pop-up subtitle. Then you have, of course, your two buttons, the accept button and the decline button. They both have some options and some functionality. You can change their labels, but you can also add redirect URLs, which would take the user to a different page or maybe even to a different website if they have clicked it. Then there's also a small confirmation text that gets shown while the pop-up is registering the response. Similarly, the same thing for the decline button. Then, of course, you can add content to the pop-up. This is where your terms and conditions would go. You can have pretty long text here if you want, but it's going to be simple text. If you have the premium key or premium plugin, you can also bring in a different page, fully styled, as it would regularly appear on your website, into the pop-up. In that case, of course, you can have media, rich text, styling, and whatever you wish to have. You also have some options for font sizes and such. You may want to have special visibility rules. These are not always common, but definitely something that you may want to check out. You don't need to turn these on at all, but based on your functionality, you may want to turn one or another on. Show pop-up on every login. By default, a user gets to see the pop-up, but then they don't see the pop-up after they have accepted it. If this option is on, they will always see the pop-up for every login. Then show pop-up on every login, but only for those who have not accepted it yet. This means very similar, but it only shows the pop-up on every login if they have declined at the previous login. Then option C is show the pop-up once, no matter if they have accepted or declined. This way, you don't necessarily care what they do. You may not even want to log them out, but you maybe are just using it as a one-time survey question. Another option is to keep users logged in. Maybe you want one of these selected, and you also want users logged in. By default, users who have declined are getting logged out and redirected. If you're, you can further filter who the pop-up shows for. By default, it's going to be all users who see the pop-up, but you can definitely filter that down to maybe subscribers, customers, and whatever roles that you have for your website. You also have some tracking settings where you can collect the user's IP address to kind of use that as proof as well. And you can also attempt to track the user location. This, of course, is limited by the browser and it may be limited by the OS. But if they have allowed you to do that, then the browser can send location information back to you, which gets stored in the database. Of course, make sure that you know your local laws and such before you turn any of these on. By default, they are off, but you can definitely use the plugin to track these. There's also some debug settings here. I would leave these off unless you have talked with the developer and they are asking you to turn these on. One cool feature here is that even if you're in production and you want to test or maybe style or restyle the pop-up, then you could do a user where the user is a designated test user and they always see the pop-up forever. And that's so that it makes it easier for you to theme. Another tab is for visual display, where you can change the pop-up visuals to make it wide, tall, and you can also resize your buttons, and of course change the button colors for accept and decline as you wish. If on the first tab in general you have selected WooCommerce mode, then there are some extra WooCommerce options here. Some are available for you even with the free version, but some other options here are only available with the Pro version. So basically you have to decide where you're going to show the pop-up. This could be all product pages and category pages, or the cart page, or the checkout page. Usually the checkout page is the way you want to go, because that way all your WooCommerce clients will have to go through that page. And that is usually the safest one, but depending on maybe you only want it on certain products, or maybe you don't want it at all, maybe you just want it on certain categories, you can have those options here. Then there are a couple of options who the pop-up should display for. One is anonymous visitors only, then anonymous visitors and logged in users, or logged in users only. Depending on how your checkout process works in WooCommerce, you may want to select something else here than what's coming with the default settings. Then anonymous visitors can have a different frequency, how and when they show, when they get to see the pop-up. Basically, you could accept anonymous users to force them to accept the pop-up on every single page load, or you could use their browser cookie to save their responses. For any logged in user, whether you're in WooCommerce mode or logged in mode, the answers always get saved in the database, and you have a record of it in the logs. And in the case of WooCommerce, you also have a record on the order page itself. The decline button behavior on the WooCommerce mode, you can keep them logged in, or you can redirect them and log out. There's also email notification options here, where you can send an email notification to the user who has checked out, of course, if you know their email and they were logged in. Then you can also send a confirmation email for the admins. This is just for your records, or maybe you want to keep a third-party record of all the accepts that have happened that is off of your main website. You can also notify admins on anonymous accepts. So by default, this is not turned on, and you only get notified if this second option is turned on when the user accepts, or maybe this is a special email that collects only this stuff. Then you can definitely notify emails of anonymous accepts as well. By default, you get to see the email. The email gets sent to the main admin email address. However, you can override this in this field, where you can say only certain emails should receive the admin notification. For the user itself, the email gets sent anyway. Of course, you can tailor your email with a special subject or special email content, and you can use email tokens here as well for their username, your website name, and your website URL. And also always test your email. We also have an analytics tab, where you can see how many of your users have seen, never seen, accepted, or declined your terms and conditions pop-up. Under the advanced section, we have a download of user generated CSV report. Basically, this will give you a report of all the users and their actions, if they have accepted terms, and if they have accepted at some point but later declined, and all of that will be generated into a CSV file, and you can download that using this button. Then there you have the pretty famous reset all users button. Is basically the best use case scenario is where maybe all of your users have accepted your terms. However, your terms have been updated since, and you would like to force all of your users to re-accept the latest terms. This basically resets them and forces the pop-up to show for them again. You can also turn on advanced logging mode. With the advanced logging mode, what happens is that every single action gets recorded in a separate database table as a separate record. With the default logging mechanism, you just log the user action and when the action happened. However, if you are using the pop-up as a multi-show, or you're showing the pop-up every single time when they log in, you may want more detailed records: when they have accepted it, how many times they have accepted it. If you want a record of every single user click that has happened on the pop-up, then is when you would turn on the advanced logging. And of course, lastly, we have the support tab, where you're going to be able to contact support if you have a premium license key, and you will get direct email to the developers if you need help with that. And that's about it for the settings page. Thank you very much.